Well, first Gaslands game was last weekend, and so now that I have a group that I finally play with, I probably am going to be building more of these cars. The thing is that I want to build more cars, but I don't have many bits and what do they call them? Gribblies, I think they call them. And so I walked across the street, went for a walk at lunch today, and I found this monster truck. Now, not necessarily something that I would immediately want to drive or immediately want to play in the game. However, you can see that it does come with, and this was one of the selling features for me. The exciting point is that it came with a little head. A head. It's a guy, and I only want him for his body. Yeah, it's the head in here that I want to look at and possibly cast. And so the head was a selling point because I know that I want to make a motorcycle eventually, a scratch build, and I know that I want to have a guy on that motorcycle. And so if I'm able to cast this helmet, I'm going to be able to make multiple motorcycle riders going forward. And so that's what this video is about ripping this thing apart and finding out what I can cast and casting it. On top of this, I'm also going to be casting these wheels right here. You can see that they're solid wheels. There's no holes in there. Let's see if it can get, there you go. They're solid wheels. I'm not a fan of the rocket leg. I liked the look of this little buggy, but the wheels were kind of cool. So I'm going to be casting the wheels of this guy, and then I'm also going to be casting the wheels of this one here. So they're two different types of wheels, and I'll just be able to reuse these parts over and over and over. So let's open this guy up, and we'll see what we might be able to get out of this thing. And so I think there's a driver. There might be a driver in there. Let's see if you can see him there. He's silver. Not very good, but he might be good enough to cast. So once we get this thing up and out, let's see what happens. Oh, right in there, locked. And off it comes. Oh, that's a beautiful thing. This will be a scratch build eventually. I'll be honest with you, I may even leave that paint job in there. That's a rad paint job. I think I'm just going to leave that paint job, wreck it up a little bit, obviously, but then we'll scratch build a chassis onto it. But that's for another day. We're focused on this right here. So, what can I keep? What can I take? They just pull off? They do. There we go. Really not finding much that would be worth casting. These might be interesting, but even then it's just not worth it because I could make those really easily. You definitely want this little engine block here. That was kind of the big selling point for me, along with this head. Now for this thing, it actually has a lot going for it. These right here, these four things right here, these shocks are kind of cool. This little engine block right here is kind of cool with this right here. So I think I'm going to take that out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some very broad cuts. So I know that I want these four right here. And so I'm going to cut all right, we've got that piece. We're going to do the same for the other side. Now that we've done the front, we're going to do the side right here. There we have the engine block. And last but not least, we'll do some rough cuts on these back shocks that we want. And so I'm going to keep these pieces right here. I want to keep those on. They just kind of look really cool, like they might fit right into that world. So I like this too. I think that just kind of, they fit right in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these back sprues off, and then we just need to clean it up a little bit. And so I'm going to come really close, almost flush with that. And we're going to come flush here, up against that right there. Little bit, a straight cut. We're going to go to the second one and repeat the process. Those two parts are trimmed away and ready to go. Next up, we have these little manifold engine looking things, which are going to be badass. And so these are going to be playing an intricate role, possibly even in my motorcycle. I could see these things easily becoming part of my scratch build, motorcycle build. So we need to take away some of this excess. Just slowly refining this until you have what you need. This part right here, I kind of like it. It looks like a pipe kind of coming up and around. And so if I was going really quick, I might just cut that off. But now that I'm looking at it, it's like, okay, let's leave it and see what happens to it. So worst case scenario is I can just kind of cut this off when after the cast. And so I mean it's not going to be much to cast the rest of this. In fact, it's going to take less silicone, so if anything, it's better. Don't need to be perfectly symmetrical. I don't even know if perfect symmetry exists. See, now this could be really cool. And just to show you kind of what possibilities are happening now, it's like, holy crap, we've taken something and we've done some things where we could really, once we get these things cast, you can just do tons of different combinations, even kind of coming out the side of the car, you know, who knows what, and we're gonna have endless amounts of these parts, so we'll be able to use these over and over and over and over and over again. Any last words, buddy? Ooh, he's not going easy. There he goes. Now let's talk silicone for a minute. There's many different types of silicones to use. What I'm going to be using is I'm going to be using a product called Smooth On. Well, Smooth On is what makes this product, but this product is actually Moldstar 16, emphasis on the fast. They also have a Moldstar 15, which is a little bit slower, which might be good for a lot of different other applications. There's so much about silicone. It's impossible to learn everything. So, just really quick, this is what I'm going to be using for this tutorial. I either use the 15 or the 16. Those are the two that I go with. The 16 is going to be really fast. You can see that right here, the pot life. Let's bring it up so you can read it. That actually will, you can actually read that. Come and focus a little bit. There you go. The pot life is 6 minutes. The cure time is 30 minutes. So what does that mean? The pot life is how much time you have to work with it. So from the time point, it's two part. The pot life is 6 minutes. So from the time that point A touches point B, That's when your 6-minute window starts, point A to point B. You're going to be able to mix this and pour it within 6 minutes. It's going to be extremely fast, and you don't have a lot of time. But we're working with this guy's right here. That's not a lot of time you're going to need to pour. So using this smooth Moldstar 16 fast, using Moldstar 16 fast with the 6-minute pot time is going to be okay for us because we're working on such a small scale. Now, when you're setting up your molds, I usually use a silicone cup just like this. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it down so that we can actually work inside of it. You don't need much. All right. So the part that we want to cast is going to be facing up. And so something similar to this. You're just going to kind of arrange it. And so it's going to be similar to something like that. And then you're just going to pour the silicone right into the top. Now, the problem comes is that these are going to float because the silicone is kind of like liquid. Sometimes these are going to rise to the top of your silicone. And when that happens, that's just a bad thing. It's not going to work. So what you want to do is you want to stick these down somehow. And the best way to do it without hurting your piece, without physically gluing it into this thing, I found a little thing called museum wax, and this is just a reusable wax. It's really sticky, and what you do is you just put a little bit on the bottom side here and stick it down. So you find out where you want your place to be, you just stick it. And so now with the museum wax, that stuff is not going to come out. You see that it's in there. And so when you pour the silicone on top, your piece isn't going to float. All right, so here we have part A and part B of our silicones. I'm going to mix them equal part by volume. Not by weight, by volume. That means is I'm going to try and fill it up to this line right here. I'm thinking 2 of these up to this line is going to give me enough silicone. So, all right, 5 minutes in counting. Last thing you want to do is you want to tap your table again, and if you watch, let's bring you really close in on this one right here, and we'll focus in on it. See that? You already got a bubble coming up, so you want to tap a little bit, and you can see there's another bubble coming up to the surface. Bubbles are popping. That's kind of what you want. You want to get a little bit more of the bubbles out. Now we look at that cure time again, and it's going to be 30 minutes. So in 30 minutes, we're going to be able to come back and pull these molds and get a cast out of them. So I'm going to go grab some dinner, and we'll be back to see how these things do. All right, we're back, and you can tell that these are hard and cured because you touch them and they're actually solid. You can see that I'm touching them and not leaving any sort of fingerprints in them. So we know that they're ready to go. And so we begin the process of demolding these guys. Just going to cut the side. See, it doesn't even stick to it, so you're good to go. Don't even need any mold release for something like this. And here are the pieces ready to go. And so I'm just going to cut a little slit, several slits, and you don't even need to take it all the way off. You can pull it right up. There it is. And from there, what you can do is just kind of pull it up and just trim it. I can show you that again. You can see I pull it up. I've got it right there. And I just slice as I pull. And it comes right up. So the next thing you got to worry about is like what kind of resins you want to use. And so without going into too much detail of what resins, I'm just going to tell you kind of what I use. And it's kind of similar to the silicones. It's equal parts 1-to-1 by volume. You're not going to weigh it. You're going to actually measure it with kind of these little measuring cups. Volume. 1-to-1 equal parts. What I use is Smooth Cast 300, another smooth on product, Smooth Cast 300. And it does have the same kind of terminology about pot life and cure time, and it does react with heat. So if it's really cold outside, it's going to not cure as fast, and if it's really hot outside, it's going to cure a lot faster. So your pot life is going to depend on the atmosphere that you're working in. But you can see here, the pot life is 3 minutes, and the cure time is approximately 10 minutes. So what that means is you've got 3 minutes from the point that part A touches part B. You've got 3 minutes to mix and pour into your mold before it starts to harden up. And it's kind of very critical that you get them into the mold because it's going to get thicker as you pour. So you want to get it as fast as possible into those into that mold as you can. Our time is just about up. It's been about 10 minutes, so we're going to demold these. You can see that I've got plastic as hard as you know what. You can already see we've got an issue going on with this guy right here. And it just looks like the resin didn't go in there. So we'll see what cast and what didn't. We'll still probably be able to use some bits out of that, but there's a good chance it didn't get everything. Probably poured a little too fast and the resin was a little too thick. So, you know, this is all just kind of a learning experience, knowing where to pour slow, where to pour fast on your mold. And I'm by far the expert in mold making, but I know enough to kind of get stuff done. So since this guy's the problem child, let's go with him first. And I'm just going to, oh, look at that, I can just pull it straight out. With the tire, I probably won't be able to do this, but, oh, you know what that was? That was the head that we cast. I forgot to cut a deeper hole for that head, and so the head never cast, but the pieces cast just fine. So let's find the cast here, bring it down so you can see the before and the after. And so here, after pulling it out, you can see that there's the original, obviously, and there's the cast, the original, and the cast. So we did lose a little bit up here. Looks like we got some air bubbles coming up. So we lost that top, but that's not too bad. That's not kind of a game changer. We can repair those fairly easy. Otherwise, you know, the detail here is pretty darn good. You can tell between the two. So I'm kind of happy with the way this came out. And as I said, we did lose a little bit on the top there, but it's almost to be expected. And those are kind of, would be easy to replace just with a little bit of wire or a little bit of sculpt. You can just easily resculpt those. The main bulk of the engine looks like it got through just fine. Let me just turn the light away so you can see these smaller tires are usable. You do get some detail. A couple blemishes here and there, not perfect. And if I took the time to do this in a degassing chamber, that probably would have been better, but this is really for post-apocalyptic vehicles and just some scratch build stuff that I want to do. And so I'm not really going to be a perfectionist about this. This is going to be good enough for what I do. And even these right here with the little chunks, I can easily fix these with a little bit of epoxy sculpt. Or after I get enough of these big tires like this, I can just bury them into epoxy sculpt and use them as barriers and other just wasted Gasland area kind of markers and tokens and stuff like that. So totally worth making the cast to get some extra wheels, to get an engine block that I'm kind of happy with. You can see that we're going to have some fun there. As I said, this is the second one that you didn't see, but this one you lose a little bit there. But to be honest with you, just that part was what I was kind of concerned about anyway. It was just that top half. So looks like we've got a lot to work with. All right, and so I figured I'd just do a quick little demonstration to show how much detail actually came out, because it's really hard to see with that white. You know, it's hard to see kind of exactly how much detail you get in there. So I'm just gonna got a little bit of a wash here, and we'll just throw on some black paint just so you can kind of see exactly what details got caught. I'm just doing this really sloppy. And I'll just do there we go. You can kind of see there's some decent amount of detail there. Same thing goes with these tires. Just really quick kind of brush in the detail there, and you can see about what's going on. So obviously it's really nasty. But just so you can see kind of the detail, we got the headers, you've got some pipes in here, you've got some riveting. And it definitely is going to work. Even like some of the sides got some issue, you know, some things. You've even got a little bit of the crankshaft there. You can see all the nice little details a lot better. And again, this is going on a car that's like, you know, a super, super small car. So, you know, from a distance, they're going to look really good. Same for the tire. The tire's not as perfect, but as I said, you know, I'm not looking for perfection here. And so this is going to work for what I need. I'm not going to try and win any model competitions. So, for what I need, this is going to work. And so thanks for joining me. And the next time we come in, we're going to be actually customizing one of these Hot Wheels. So until then, I'll see you next time.